I might need them back at some point because you never know. might fancy some time off work and break your leg. Right. Okay, so before.
The Wizard of Oz, which was performed in 1989.
Les Mis in 2016.
Bugsy Malone, and I think it was in 2000.
The Boyfriend in 1995.
It was actually a concert, it was Kids in Concert, Kids with a Z, in 2001.
My first show was Mulan.
Mulan, and it was in 2011.
2013, where I played, well, I was in Peter Pan and I played Michael.
Oklahoma in 2008.
The Wizard of Oz in 2004, and I was the Wizard of Oz.
My first WAOS Junior show was a show called Fiddlesticks, and it went on in 1999, but I joined in 1998. And it was a musical all about the nursery rhyme experience, which is as good as it sounds. But I was only little. I joined because my auntie was the lead in that, and I remember coming and saying that they need some really younger ones. Would you like to join? So I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that. So yeah, so I started going to rehearsals with her. I even got a little solo to sing. It was like a karaoke version of Rockabye Baby. So that went down well. So yeah, that was my first taste of a junior show really. There were some adults in it, but it was like the main junior production of that year. So that was good fun.
Well, let me take you back to 1989 it was. The Society decided they would do The Wizard of Oz as an adult and a junior show because we needed loads of kids, so the Munchkins at that time. Very successful show, and it was one of my sort of main parts playing the Scarecrow, and it was a really enjoyable time. The following show was Oliver. Again, we needed loads of boys for that one, for the orphanage, and again, successful. And the outcome of the Oliver show was everybody was so pleased to be working together among the young people that they asked us if we would form a junior group. So very shortly after that, Jeff Hubbard and I and Pat and Linda Adams, we set it up, and we did it every other Saturday morning and charged them 50 pence every other Saturday morning.
So we had the Wizard of Oz where we'd had to bring kids in, and we had an Oliver where we'd had to bring kids in. And we got sitting around the management table, and we decided it would be a good idea if we could hang on to these children that we'd been bringing in. More as looking to members of the society in the future, because the way things go, there's always it always seems to be on a constant turntable. You have loads of members, and then some disappear, then you've got to bring more new members in. So in a way it was trying to provide a bit of a stopgap to members.
We didn't do that many shows because we couldn't afford to do it. So, but at the rehearsals we played games, and then we had Lise Congdon, who's our musical director. She came and did the music for them, and so that you could see the children progressing and enjoying it.
The following springtime, we decided that we had enough people there now to give them a show in their own right, and that was Bugsy Malone, and that was the very first junior production.
I found WAOS Juniors through my mother, who had been there for about, I think, 10 years before, and she said, oh, why don't you come down and try this, because I think you'll like it, I think you'll really like it, you'll meet new people. And when I was younger, I didn't really sing, or I didn't think I could, so I didn't have the confidence, and then she just kept nagging me for ages and ages, and then after like 2 years I went, okay, I'll try it for a couple of weeks and see if I like it, and ever since then it's been 6 years and I've never looked back really. So
I just got told that I was joining and that was that really. And then it was kind of, here's a newspaper clipping of what it is, read it, you're going. And I didn't look back, I loved it.
I can't really remember ever finding out about WAOS Juniors, but I remember being told that I should probably go to amateurs by Mum and Dad. Or maybe it was that they just wanted me to go and do the plays that I used to do in the living room, actually somewhere else.
This was quite a random one actually. I found out about WAOS Juniors one night when I was at a rugby pitch with my dad and my mum rang and she was like, oh, you're going to a new club on Wednesday? I was like, oh, am I? Where am I going? And she was like, oh, you're going to WAOS. And I was like, what's that? Like, I don't know what that is.
Maybe go and rehearse them with a proper company that can put on proper shows. Because I was always, I remember Sunday lunch, before Sunday lunch I'd do a show or something. I did a drum and all sorts, and I think they may be like, go and do it somewhere else with other people and we'll come and buy tickets rather than you doing it here every week.
My nanny has been a member of the society for quite a long time. And yeah, she just brought me down. As soon as I was old enough, she brought me down. And yeah, it was, just from then on.
So the first memory of WAOS then could become WAOS Juniors when I was at school one day. And Ronnie and Howard Burns, who were old members of the society, came into the school looking for people sort of at my age. I think we were about 9 or 10 back then, maybe even, probably 9 or 10, asking if we wanted to take part as Munchkins in the Wizard of Oz. So that was how it really started for me. So and it grew from there. So we performed Wizard of Oz and WAOS as Munchkins, and then that sort of developed into WAOS Juniors, and that just carried on throughout the years.
Walking in, and I was really scared, and my mum dressed me up really posh and everyone else was in gym gear.
Funny, but I remember I was wearing like this black full tracksuit, and it was made out of velvet.
And I was set in to take that song, what was it called? The one where you ride on a star. And that seems to be something we've done nearly every single year since. So that's my first memory.
And I remember just walking into the room and being really nervous, but yeah, all the leaders were there and just really welcoming, and everyone was very nice, yeah.
I was down from when I was about 7, and we had to do plays, make up your own plays. So I was in a bit of a mixed group with some of the older ones, and we were doing the Titanic. Obviously the Titanic must have come out around that time, so it was very much in their mindset. And I played a crazy Italian chef that jumped off the ship. And I don't know why that sticks with us, but that's what it was.
So my first memory is kind of coming down on a Wednesday night, and we used to do a lot of plays.
It was coming down to the mish, and it wasn't the mish that we know it now. It had it was all like a wooden effect all the way around.
So it was kind of, guys, go off, split into your groups and do some plays, and it would always be like a haunted house. I remember there was, where outside where there's a cupboard, there was a chain on it, and we used to shake the chain to pretend it was scary ghosts and things like that. I think that was my first ever time I came down, so yeah, that kind of sticks in my brain a bit.
There was scaffolding in the corner, there was what I thought was a piano, but it was a big box painted with piano keys. And I just remember seeing all these props and thinking, oh, I want to use those. And we did lots of little plays and stuff. And it was just a room full of people who I didn't know, and it was a new and exciting thing.
Before I was in the juniors, we went to see Mulan in 2011 because my best friend Robin was in it. Walking in. I remember walking in, it was I didn't even know my name was on the list, and I just got told I was going.
Walking in, and then all of the leaders say, right, we're all going to take a hat each, and we'll all go into groups of 5, and then you have to make an ad for a supermarket.
And it was very stereotypical back then. It was the gothic emos, and then the travs, and then the newbies, and that's literally how it was, and it was so daunting. I didn't know where to put myself.
So as was like a pink fluffy hat, and I don't know why it was pink fluffy hat, and we had to do a Tesco ad for it, so I don't know why they sort of linked together, but yeah, it was just unique, very unique.
The most exciting part of rehearsals, I think, is, I mean, it's all exciting, like when you do the first sing through the show, that's great, but when you move into the theatre and the show that you're doing and that you've rehearsed for months sort of changes, because you've got your set, you've got your props, and sometimes it can change quite dramatically.
The best part of the rehearsal process in any show has to be band call, like the week before opening night when everybody's down and the band comes down for the first time and you get to hear their music as it's going to be played in the show, and you sing through it, and it's just the best feeling ever, and it gets everybody really, really excited for show week.
I think my favourite part is the full day on a Sunday that you do, like before the show, for show week. It's long and everyone gets shouted at and we all get tired, but it's the first time you're in the theatre and you see all the stage, you see the set, you see the props, and it finally comes together and you're like, wow, this is what we've been working for.
But I think my favourite bit of it all is stood in the wings, just about to go on. And I think that's probably one of my favourite places actually, to be stood there in the wings, about to go on stage, because there's a few thought processes that go through. Am I going to forget my lines? Will I forget my song? And then you've just got to go out and do it regardless.
Well, the two shows I did with juniors were Les Mis and Starlight Express, which were both really enjoyable, obviously because Les Mis is such an iconic show and everybody loved doing it. And then Starlight was a real challenge because we all had to learn to roller skate, which was difficult for some more than others, me included. But it was really nice because everybody came together, everyone was behind each other, and when we pulled it off on stage, it was just the best feeling.
I'll start with the first one. Best supporting male in a youth musical. Andrew McMinn for Marcus in Red. Best female youth comedy performance goes to Chloe Stedman. The third nomination was the best staging of a youth production. So that's the staging, went to Les Miserables, that's 3. Then we have best youth ensemble for Les Miserables. That's the choral work and everything else. After we tried all the others, we then got the icing on the cake with the best youth production as well. For Les Miserables.
Noda came late on, even with the society. I think it came later on, especially when Ed McGee became the Noda representative. Because I remember at one meeting, the society was toying, or the president was toying with the idea of dropping Noda altogether, because she didn't think that we were getting that much out of it. But the times have changed, and communications changed, the whole thing's changed.
The junior shows with awards and things like that, it's absolutely brilliant. It's so good because it shows that there's some recognition from other people, other bodies, other organisations that you've done a good show, and it's comparable to other fantastic productions in our area. I don't think we should be like aiming for that as the be all and end all, because I think the main thing is that we get kids down here having a really good hobby and having a great time.
Well, when we were doing Les Mis, it was just the best thing ever because it was everybody's favourite show and it was such a special time, and it was obviously my first junior show and everybody just had the best time. And then when we found out that we were nominated for a couple of awards, never thought we were going to win, but then when we did, it was just the best thing ever.
But when you can get an opportunity to go to Manchester and have a night when you've got a load of the cast with you and win like Lemmy's won Best Ensemble, it's brilliant because you just sit there, see the reaction from them. They were up, they were screaming, that loads of them got to go up together up onto the stage. Normally at these things it's a bit of a sober affair. When you go and collect something, one person on their own, nobody really knows them, that everyone applauds politely, but it's just a bit kind of muted. Whereas when we won for Lemmy's, half the cast was there and they were all up and having a great time. That's what it's all about. Brilliant.
Our standards have risen so high because kids are, as the years pass, children become more clever than the predecessors. And now when children come in, they've got so many talents, you know, before they join us as well, you know. It's just grown and grown. I would never have thought you would have got to NODA, and especially winning NODA standards, you know, when we started off, you know, with our loud group.
No, I never imagined I'd be nominated for a NODA, because to me it was, you know, the very, very talented people, the ones that could sing and act flawlessly were the people that got nominated. And I seen my role as Madam T as just a silly little character and a bit of fun. So to find out that what was really fun to me was actually quite worthy of being nominated for an award was like remarkable.
So I was in WAOS Juniors from 1995 up until 1998, and then I transitioned to be a leader, and I was a leader for 15 years after that. We had loads of wonderful shows and worked with loads of different people, and it gave me lots of skills really to go on to do what I do now, which is a teacher, which allowed me to sort of develop them skills of working with young people.
It certainly challenges you. I mean, I was quite quiet as a kid. Now I get told to shut up quite frequently, so it is nice, and I've met like my best friends through it.
I think it really teaches you to commit to something. Obviously doing a show is a very big commitment because you have to put a lot of hours into rehearsals and things, so growing up having that is good because yeah, it really teaches you to focus and prioritise things.
It was really nice to grow up as a part of WAOS Juniors, so I first came down because my sister was in it. So essentially, Jen came down on a Wednesday night and my mum was like, oh, can Phil join? And they were like, yeah, that's fine, just leave her. So I was just kind of left one day. I think I was on the waiting list, but it was like, yeah, she can stay down.
It was nice, it was just something originally that we did on, it was Saturday morning, between like 10 and 12, I think it was, the original rehearsals, and then eventually it moved to a Wednesday. So we used to have a busy Wednesday because we used to go singing lessons, then dancing lessons, then write to amateurs as well, so that was good fun. But it was nice because it started to get really, really popular. It was just as like musical theatre was kind of coming back as something like quite cool to do really. So when I first started there was maybe like 3 that were my age, but then by the time we were starting to do bigger shows, like The Wizard of Oz and Honk, like it had grown so much. So it was really nice. So some of my best friends were in the shows with me at the time. So it was really, really nice social thing to do as well. And we did all sorts of parties as well. So yeah, it was just something that we would really look forward to week in, week out.
My dad as a leader was quite strange. It was good in as much as I knew what he was after, I knew what he was looking for because he'd spoken about it to my mum at home and things like that, but it was bizarre as well in as much as I was forming friendships and perhaps trying to be more friendly with some girls with my dad watching.
It was different having my sister suddenly like on my patch, but she was always a lot more exuberant than I was and a lot more outgoing. And, so when she joined, she was like the little cute factor. So it was nice to have a little sister there to kind of show the ropes to, but it didn't take long to show the ropes because she was showing everybody else what to do in no time.
It was really nice to have my sister there as a juniors. You've always got someone to like rely on and practice with you and things like that. And I remember when it was my first, the first concert, Kids in Concert, I had Jen there because at one point I said, I've got a funny feeling in my tummy. and we had to get Jenna to go and call my mum, and I had butterflies. But I didn't know when I was 6 what butterflies were, so I just felt very sick. So they were all there comforting me, so it was nice, a big sister looking out for me.
It's, unless you're part of it, you don't understand it. You all become a club. And then the club becomes part of this other club, you know. But there's such a good, especially with this society, there's such a good ambience all the way through that it just lends itself to continuing the way it is, you know.
Growing up as a member of WAOS Juniors has been great. I think when you're in junior school, you're going to move on to secondary, then you're going to sixth form, then uni, and WAOS all the way through that time, since I was 9 years old, has been a constant. You're moving schools, you're moving through your education, but WAOS is always there to welcome you home, I suppose.
The changes that you see in the children when they walk through that door, at different ages I suppose, but some of them are with us from they're 8, and then 11, well, you're kicking them out when they're 16, 17. And it's really good to see how they're developing confidence, how the skills on stage change, and yeah, just seeing them develop into young adults, and then going on to see them in really positive careers, and hopefully we've contributed to that.
The most proud I felt was Starlight Express, because when we set out to do that, we got quite a lot of negative feedback about you can't do it on roller skates because you haven't got anyone that can skate that you know of. It's dangerous to do it in the Carnegie. There's too many health and safety problems to be able to pull that off. To then seeing that on the stage with 22 people on skate, but with a cast of 50, doing a really good job, and seeing that a lot of people only got roller skates sort of July the year before the show was on, and it was on in February, so they've only really had like 6 to 8 months of even skating. So that's a sense of pride, because everybody on that show learnt a skill as well as doing the normal stuff that you associate with the production.
Which one? Which one do you feel more comfortable coming down?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, if he's going to kill himself, go for it.
Yeah, do you want the cut?
He's down. It's easy this way. What's your
Yeah.
So, someone get ready to catch him.
Oh, Tony.
Yeah! Easy, that. Go on, you go anywhere, you.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a particular favourite, but I would have to say that the way that they were taught to skate, it's gone from another level, from a junior level to a senior, you know. And I would say Starlight Express is all those wonderful kids having to learn to roller skate and looking fantastic on the Carnegie, with wonderful scenery and you know, wonderful costume, fantastic show. And I would say for me, and not being involved personally, that would be my highlight of the 30 years of the working in the Athletic Society Juniors. Yeah.
I think when I was growing up, it was always Alison and then it was Tish as the choreographers, and I did look up to them. I mean, I still do because Tish is in seniors, but I was always like, oh, you've got like the best job ever. So when I was asked to do it, I was honestly so chuffed. And I think it's like you're the role model to the kids as well, and it has made me think, oh, step up your game and you're dancing, like you don't want them to be better than you. But no, I love it.
Yeah, the thing that I'm most proud of is definitely not necessarily being a member of juniors myself, but what we've achieved since like being on the committee. When we did Les Mis, it was so incredible just to be able to have that experience of putting on such a phenomenal show that everybody kind of aspires to do, really. You know, there's so many adults that would love to be in that kind of cast, and we had such a great cast, there wasn't a weak link in it, and a standing ovation every single night. It was just, I can't even describe it, it was so lovely. Like, I don't well up easily, but I did. I stood at the back and watching everybody get to the feet. It was absolutely amazing.
All of them really had that little bits of each one. I think I remember Honk more than anything because of you know, I made a lot of the costumes, and so I was quite heavily involved, you know.
My proudest memory is probably when we did Honk. So that was a really fun show. Like, I don't think anyone had heard of it, definitely didn't know the music or anything like that. And it was a lovely one because there were so many parts. I felt like we all really came together and bonded, and everyone had fun. And I was a hen, I was a frog, I was a duck at one point, I think. So it was lots of fun.
But no, I think to watch each individual show, there's different children that sparkled. So it was nice to see, you know, that once the rehearsal started and they were like reading the lines, and then you gave them the character and they produced such wonderful performances. So I can't specifically say no. I mean, when I've watched Les Mis that they did as that was fabulous, you know. That's just recently, you see. So I feel that what we put in, we are still seeing, you know, the results, because they're producing and, you know, they're doing it now, the older ones, so it's lovely.
The best part, hands down, is when you get somebody as a member who starts maybe 8, and then you see them through to 18, and you see the difference from when they come down really quiet, really shy, not sure what it's all about, not sure if they're going to like it, probably come down because the mum or dad were involved years ago, or the friends come down or something, and then they really get into it, and we try and develop some of the skills, give them confidence with the singing, dancing and acting, and then you get the finished product on our shows, which is good. But then it's even better if some of the people go away to university to study or do want to take it up as a profession, because then you know that you've not just had an impact on someone's hobby, but you might have had an impact on their life as well. So that's really good. My favourite memory of WAOS Juniors, am I allowed 2?
Favourite memory of WAOS Juniors? There's so many.
Just having the whole experience, just being lucky enough to have the experience, and even as much as, you know, the leaders that you work with from a young age, and you sort of, you know, you get to be in a bit of a narky teenager and you sort of have your fallout, and then as you get older you start to become friends and you start to really respect them and appreciate what they've done for you. So I just think like the whole thing around that, you know, is what I've really liked.
My favourite memory of being in the juniors is probably when we were at the NODA Awards for Les Mis and we won Best Ensemble, and it was just really good because everyone was there together and it was just a great moment.
I think it has to be, as a leader, to stand back and to watch one of them shows that you've put your heart and soul into being performed on stage, and then seeing the children come off and the young adults and just the buzz they've got, and it's the buzz that we get when we're on stage, and to be able to pass that on is amazing.
I think for me, my favourite memory was probably when we did Honk. So that was a musical about the Ugly Duckling, and it was the first time I had like a lead, so that was really good fun. So I was like the mother duckling, so it was nice being able to work with the kids.
My favourite memory of WAOS Juniors is really the rehearsals that we had, or the club nights, and we used to do a lot of improv, we used to do little plays, and so you get into little groups and maybe little adverts or little situations.
It's definitely doing the shows. So one of my favourite ones was Oklahoma, and I got to do that with all my friends, and I was Aunt Ella, so essentially an old woman in an apron with an egg beater running around after Adam was probably one thing that'll stick in my mind there. That was lots of fun to practice to do.
It's probably a tie between Starlight and Les Mis. Les Mis was like my first kind of main part show, and that was really good, and I'd been to see it loads of times on the West End before we did it and stuff, so it was a really like special show for me to do. But then Starlight was just so fun, and obviously learning to skate and things, it like gave it a different element to really like focus towards. And
pretending to butter churn which was something that I didn't know. I didn't know what to do, and I think that took a few attempts to actually get the actions right.
I don't think I've got a favourite memory about being in WAOS Juniors, just the juniors. I think I've got a memory of the whole of WAOS. You know, it's been such a big part of my life now for 30 years that it'd be unfair to say that it's just the juniors. You know, it's the whole society that sort of included me, brought me on, welcomed me.
I think as much as it's like blowing your own trumpet, it was probably when I had my solo dance in one of the last concerts I'd done as a junior. Defying Gravity, loved it.
You know, and I think that the big part of it now is how proud I am to see my two sons who are actually now in the juniors and performing in the concerts. So it's a good full circle.
Ooh. Favourite memory was probably in rehearsals for Starlight. I think it was just because everybody was trying to concentrate so much on skating, and when we brought the ramps in at the back of the in this room here, people were falling over, like crying, laughing, going, I can't do it, I can't do it. And I think it just stands out because of how many emotions there were in every rehearsal, and sort of seeing the progression of how they've gone from being at the start and then going up to the high level where we were performing in a big stage. So yeah.
Well, my two favourite memories from WAOS Juniors, one is from being on, and I played the part of Snoopy in the show Snoopy when I was 11, so that was my first leading role with WAOS Juniors.
Oh, what I should have said there really actually was, favourite memory was meeting my husband here. That's what I should have said. But yeah, I'm sure he'll talk about that later when you talk to him, so you don't need to listen to me.
But my favourite memory as a director or as part of the lead, it's just the Saturday night of Limmy's final night, final curtain call, standing ovation, and it was just like a sense of, we've done this, and it's been really good. So yeah, those two.
Well, I just think it's part of the child's development. They do things there. It gives them confidence. It makes them more outward feeling, outward looking, and I just think well, I've got to say I think it's the best hobby in the world anyway. You know, and I wouldn't like to go back in any way, shape or form. I just think it's absolutely wonderful. It just gives them that much development. It really does. Yeah.
Oh, well, I think it gives them so much confidence, and obviously I'm prejudiced because my love of music and dance. I joined the Amateurs over 50 years ago as a dancer, really. But I always think if children have music in their life, I always think it's such a plus.
Oh my God, it's going to sound so soppy, but it has changed my life. I mean, I come out my shell massively. It's challenged sort of the dancing back because, you know, it's like a singer or a dancer, mine's dancing, and it has challenged me in that way. But then as well, just meeting all your friends, and you do class them as second family, so it's soppy, but it's true.
Probably confidence, knowing that I can do different things and I don't have to stay in like one path. I can sort of say, right, I'm going to try this, and you sort of learn that you have to try before you can fail, and it sort of gives you the skills that you need in life really, which is trying, failing, and then when you fail you get back up and you can do better things. So
I think it definitely helps to build your confidence. You're among like-minded people. You know, you learn a lot of the technical terms, you know, downstage, upstage, and those are the things that they didn't really teach in drama at school until later on I did go on to do GCSE and stuff, which is obviously a bit more technical. But it was nice to learn from the people, the craftsmen that had done it for years before I had.
So being in WAOS Juniors from such a young age definitely helped me a lot in terms of like confidence and things. Like I think even now, like at work, like having to do presentations and things, and it's like basically growing up on the stage and doing that stuff with all your friends has helped so much, and just enjoyable. Like I don't know if many people really enjoy getting up and talking, but I suppose we all do, or we wouldn't do it.
Definitely more confidence in myself. to kind of put myself out there and like believe in myself that I'm actually quite a good singer. Yeah, just, yeah.
I think it's such an impressionable time of your life when you're sort of starting. Or certainly when I started at WAOS, you know, we were sort of 10 upwards, and we were starting to look at secondary school. So there was a lot of people who were friends at the time, who were friends at WAOS, were friends at school, then became to know them at senior school as well, and we've remained friends ever since. And I think that's part of it, that literally it is just one big family, you know. So there's people who I got to meet from our very first production, The Wizard of Oz, and yet 30 years later I'm still friends with them now. That's just fantastic.
I think a huge impact. I think it's absolutely helped me to be the person that I am today, with my confidence, with any abilities that I may or may have, whether people think they're good or bad. And just, you know, the ability to be social as well. I think that's a really big part of it as well.
Well, I always wanted to be in the juniors, but just never really had the courage to apply. All my friends were in it, and when I finally did it, it was an amazing thing, because I love musicals, and getting to do musicals with your best friends is an amazing thing. And that's probably the best thing that juniors has given me, is the friendship group. Almost all of my friends are from amateurs, from WAOS, and it's just the best thing ever to see them every week and do amazing things with them and have these shared experiences.
Believe it or not, I'm quite a socially anxious person, and I was terrified when I first walked through the door of WAOS. But it's developed my social skills and confidence skills massively. Like, I used to be so shy, and now I don't care what people think. If I'm given a role and I'm told to act stupid or silly, I do it, because I don't care what people think anymore. It's done so much for me, that's all I can say, really.
It's brought on my confidence. It has it's made up a lot of my friendships. Most of my friends are members or have been at some time, and maybe aren't anymore or whatever else. But I suppose, maybe I shouldn't say suppose actually, but this is where I've met my wife, so that's brilliant. So we both came down separately, independently, didn't know each other, but over time we have got to know each other, and we got together on the back of a show. Well, it wasn't a junior show, but we got together on the back of a show, Thoroughly Modern Millie, and got together, got married, and now we are helping to run WAOS Juniors together. So that's fantastic. You can't ask for more than that. Thank you. All right.
When you started WAOS Juniors, did you ever think that it would continue?
No. I hoped it would, but you know, there's time you think, well, I can't think what to do today, you know. What the heck am I going to do? But then you look through all these theatre books, and to me the games are totally irrelevant. I mean, they're only kids, and these were for adults, you know. But we managed, you know. I do remember at the end of every session we had a play time where they went off in groups and came back with plays. And every week, without fail, the lads' plays would end with blood, murder, fights, and that sort of thing, you know. But I don't know. It was all good fun, and they came back every week after week, which shows they wanted to do it, you know. And as I say, some of them are still friends to this day, 30 years on, which is really, really good.
Did you ever imagine when this started 30 years ago that it would still be
Oh
going
no, oh no. No, I mean, when we were running it, there wasn't that many, and when it first started, there were more our children, you know, older members, you know, had children, so, and then it sort of built up, and I think we had a waiting list. We only could manage 40 because you're limited to how many you can look after. And now they don't have a waiting list, and there are 50 children on this concert, you know, because there's a lot more, you know, on the committee now, and no, I can't, it's wonderful. No, it's lovely.
Last question. When you started this 30 years ago, did you ever imagine that it would still be going today and to the standard of getting no denomination?
Not at all, not at all. Not at all. We did it because we had the kids at that time who wanted to keep going, who liked working together, loved coming down here for the Saturday morning, and it's just developed from there. And it's just been a fantastic success. And I never thought it might last for a couple of years, it'd fall away, but there you go. It's just gone from strength to strength, and you find as we find it now. Yeah, ready for the 30th anniversary showcase in July.
What do you hope that the future is for WAOS?
I just hope it continues to get better and better. I have very little to do with it now, but I'm chuffed that the little acorn I planted is